All right, welcome everybody. Very exciting evening, our first and hopefully a long virtual series. Well, not long, but prolific virtual series over the next 6 or so months. If you can join us with your video screens on, please do. But obviously, some of you might be in situations that doesn't allow, so I understand. I'm very excited. Our first virtual performance is featuring a wonderful composer, singer, pianist, band leader, and I saw, Noah, in your email signature, music psychotherapist. Did I get that right?
Correct, yes.
Amazing. I have a feeling we might have some students interested in what that's like. I know in the past we've had students double majoring in sciences and or nursing or other kind of related topics. So most of the students here with us in Zoom are members of our jazz ensembles, small groups, and or our jazz harmony and arranging course this semester. And then, of course, we are streaming live onto the Hunter College Music Department YouTube page. And so we'll have more people joining us there. For those of you who are there, welcome. And for those of you who have friends and family who aren't able to make it, this will live on the Hunter College Music YouTube page for the indefinite future, unless someone feels otherwise. But in any case, let's jump into this. So this evening, we're going to feature a live performance, something that very few of us have gotten to partake in or witness very much of over the last 8 months, obviously. So that's extremely exciting. Noah and her band, whom I'll introduce in just a moment, got together in a safe environment and performed and recorded their performance recently. And they are now sharing that with us, exclusively with us, for this new Topologies concert series presented by the Hunter College Music Department. So we will be hearing from all the musicians just momentarily, but before we jump into the performance, why don't I introduce them now? They are with us here in the Zoom chat. On trumpet, we have Josh Deutsch with us.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having us, Ryan.
Our pleasure. On the bass / video editing, we have Dan Loomis.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here.
On the drums, I saw him. There he is. Ronan Itzik on the drum set.
Hey guys, how are you? How's it going, Ryan?
It's going great, Ronan. Great to see you, man.
You too, man.
And the band leader, composer, vocalist, and pianist, Noa Fort.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. Thanks, Ryan, for having us. And hi, everyone who joined. Thanks for being here.
So, Noah, before we jump into the performance, is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know before we sit back and listen to the performance?
Well, it's very obvious that this was made in COVID days, and as such a show, you will see masks. You will see coats because we played with the open door so that we don't, be in a closed environment for a few hours. And you will also hear, you might notice some noise, and that is the fan that tried to keep us from freezing because we filmed it in a very, very cold night. So the open door had us, like, we had to keep the fan on. What else, guys? Anything else I need to mention? What do you think? I should actually mention that this was the first time we all met together and played since March. Last time we played was in the studio in March 16, right before COVID hit the city and everything closed down. So we were very lucky to kind of get until the last minute, spend a day at the studio, and then that's it. We haven't seen each other until the last Monday when we recorded this set. So this was a very meaningful evening also on that level. And I also want to say that tonight is Hanukkah, so I have a menorah here, or Chanukiah, the way we say it in Hebrew, and maybe later in the Q&A can start with the lighting, even though it's a bit late. If we are really religious, you won't do it that late, but I'm not, so that's it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll have many questions for you and the musicians after the show. But without further ado, the Noa Fort Quartet live in performance.
Now is our time, as it has always been, but we've been blind, and so we haven't seen that only now exists, and we live in it only. We
Beautiful.
Reading all the unwritten signs you are, listening to the unspoken words, seeing far between what's between the lines, watching scenes that never do place. And even when they tell you that the danger isn't over, you rather stay the runaway. Reality's never challenged. What do you choose to see? Chosen to be reading all the unwritten signs you are, finding ways to be in control. Always taking 3 steps before your time, and you've only started to roll. And when they tell you that the danger isn't over, you rather stay the runaway. Reality's never challenged. What you chose to see. I'm choosing to be free. And even when they tell you that the danger isn't over, you rather stay the runaway. Reality's never challenged. What you chose to see. I'm choosing to be free. Woohoo! Hi, everyone who's watching. Hope you can hear us through the sounds that are happening here and through the freezing cold that we are currently experiencing. We are very excited to play this set for you and play for the first time since March. Play for the first time together since March. We started with 2 tunes from my first album, No World Between Us. So these are tunes that we've been playing quite a bit and moving forward from those pieces towards the newer pieces now, pieces that we actually recorded right before the lockdown. Very special experience that I think we're all grateful that we got a chance to do it right before everything shut down. I think I'm feedbacking a little bit. And we started with Now Is Our Time, moved to Unwritten Signs, and now we'll be playing a piece called Fragment or Everyday Actions. The name is not final yet, which we recorded in March and will be out in 2021 in our new album. Featuring Josh Deutsch on trumpet, Dan Loomis on bass, Ronan Itzik on drums. sleeping by my side. Yet I was cold. Yet I was cold. What is the story that we tell each other? Is it different than the stories that we always tell? This night, I thought about the stories that we tell each other every night. Truth or dare, mostly lies. Pretend to be someone that you are not. Pretend to feel something that you don't. Pretend to want something that you want.
Yeah.
That was The Stories We Tell. And we will continue with another track that is from the new album. Actually, The Stories We Tell is also from the new album. The next one is called Deeping. Deeping as in the word that doesn't actually exist in English, right? D-E-E-P-I-N-G. And it should exist, I think. I think.
You made it.
Still feeling your fingers, everyone?
Only a couple. It's important.
Ooh. How are
Wow.
you doing?
Yeah,
Let's see if you're still there, actually.
we're here.
Okay, still recording.
You don't have to do all that again.
Once again, a suitcase in my hand. I travel light, and yet it's overwhelmed. A piece of me is staying here, a piece of me has never truly left. I wander in the streets of my old town, not certain if I'm lost or it feels as if I've never left, and yet I know I don't belong here now. Leaving home, going home. Leaving home, going home. The people I once knew all left or changed. The men I used to love are now estranged. It feels as if I've never left, yet I know I don't belong here now. Leaving home, going home. Leaving home, going home. Leaving home, going home. Leaving home, going home. If home is where my heart is, where's my home? My heart finds both directions on and on. Perhaps my heart has grown to be the only home I'll ever truly own. Living home, going home. Leaving home, going home. Living 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 home, I want to dedicate this song to anyone who feels that they have more than one home in this world, and definitely an experience And from that experience of having more than one home to an interesting, maybe an interesting story about the next song, which is going to be a solo song, right? Am I missing something? Yeah. Okay. The next song, it's a song written after I came back from visiting the homeland of my grandma, who grew up in what is today Ukraine, and left right before the war, and the rest of her family stayed behind and unfortunately did not survive. And last year, luckily, a few months before COVID, my dad took the family to see where his origins were, where he was basically from. He was born in Israel, but his mother was from there, and he really wanted to just take us all and see those places that are now very different in many ways. So this song is called Rivne, after the name of the village where she grew up. And if I find the music, I will be able to play it. There it is.
Built-in audience.
What is it? Audience? Remind me. We are going to continue with a song for a new year, another temporary name, by the way.
Wonderful. We are still filming. So, shall we teach them the part? Yeah? Okay. So you got a part now. You, this mysterious audience that we don't know who you are, but we hope you exist. And your part is going to be to sing with us a line. Just keep going, and you can choose whatever sound you want to do on it. Can you play the line one more time for us? So for example, you could sing or you can do it lower. So I guess we were showing them the harmony part, right? Okay, so let's
Let's do that one first of all. Or higher. That might be too high. Okay, whatever line you feel like you want to sing, just feel free to do that. It's anywhere at home, so we won't be able to hear you, whether you're in tune, out of tune, singing, whatever you feel like singing with us.
No pressure.
So just do it. Yeah? Let's do it. One, two, three. Please do.
Woo! Beautiful tune.
Josh Deutsch,
Yeah.
Dan Lewis, Ronald Dixon. I am Noa Fort, and we're gonna turn this video off, and then we're gonna be there alive in your Zoom.
Here they are now. Let's have everyone unmute themselves just for a moment and let them know how much we enjoyed that.
Yeah. Bravo.
Bravo, Robbie.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Okay. So I'm sure that many of you have questions. I know many of you have questions. So why don't we start by entering those questions into the Zoom chat feature. Those of you on YouTube, if you have questions, you can put them in the YouTube comments, and our department administrator will pass them along to me if we have time. And they can, of course, be for Noah, but they can be for other members of the band as well, since they are so graciously taken the time to join us tonight. So we'll give them a few seconds to get their questions typed in.
Maybe in the meantime, I can light the candles.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent
work?
idea.
Yep.
Excellent
Because
idea.
I was teaching until basically coming here, and I didn't have a chance to light my candles. So here they are. Hope you join me with
Now,
this.
do you usually sing a song when you light
Yeah, we're
the
gonna sing a song.
candles?
Yeah, what song should we sing? I don't know, like the American Jewish songs. I only know the Israeli one, so I'm just gonna sing one in Hebrew if that's okay with you.
Of course.
And I don't really know the prayers well. I hope my dad is not watching. He's not, because it's Israel time. It's super late, so he'll be watching maybe later. So let's pretend that this is the right way to do it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה. Now everyone say, Amen. I think there's another one, right, Ronan? Baruch atah Adonai, da 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 da. Whatever, let's say I did it, da 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 da, and light the candles. Amen. And then you sing, at least in my house, you sing, הנרות הללו שאנו מדליקים, הנרות הללו שאנו מדליקים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות ועל התשועות Hey! That's it. We'll keep it here. And now I'll mute myself and wait for your questions.
All right. Well, they are coming in furiously now. So we'll start with the first. This is from Lenny Weissman, is a pianist, composer, producer, graduate student, waving to you now. So Lenny, do you want to just unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure, yeah, and I was just curious about what the process of like playing through an uncomfortable setting was like, and what the pros and cons of that. And like when I'm talking about the uncomfortable setting, I'm referring mostly to being cold and having to wear masks, and being in a room with people with masks, and all that.
Thank you for the question. Hi, Lenny. Thanks for listening. And I think that question goes to all of us in the band. It was, first of all, it was cold. So just physically, moving our hands on the instruments, it's not easy. We had to rub our hands, and it didn't really help, to be honest. So it was just like a little more hard than it should be. For me, for the singing, it didn't affect me much, but I'm guessing the others for their instruments, maybe they can speak to that. I know there's certain instruments like the bass and the trumpet that might be even more affected than the piano in that moment. And just as for your question about the mask, so I wasn't wearing one, but it's definitely just harder to communicate. It's just weird. There's less, just generally less ability to be, as in any other daily interaction that we have. It's harder to read each other, so you really gotta be more attuned. And of course, on top of that, the fact that there's actually no present audience, which is a very strange experience. So basically playing to a phone that was filming us. I think we all were able to get into that moment, but it's definitely so much more layers of connection and interaction when there is an audience there. So I can't wait for having you there for real. And maybe other people from the band would like to talk about their experience in terms of the cold and the masks and everything else.
Yeah, I'll jump in. And in terms of playing through the cold and playing with the masks, it's like a physical and mental challenge, and one bleeds into the other. Like when it's cold, I think Josh and I were probably dealing with the physical aspects of it the most directly. Like pitch is a huge thing. Like it's constantly changing, and then like the setup of your instrument is changing. Like for me, like the sound of my instrument was like changing as the concert went on, which was a challenge. I'm sure Josh is experiencing a similar thing. And with the mask, it's like this distraction. I sort of like equate it to like trying to like connect with your bandmates while you're playing giant steps, where it's like you have these like distractions going by, and you're like, okay, I have to deal with these as a part of my reality, but I the most important thing is to connect with people here, and then hopefully take that connection to the audience, and everything else is just like a challenge along the way. It's like one more hurdle.
I actually want to add one thing that I think I mentioned to the band right after the set, that I got so cold that we kind of had we decided before the set that we'll make a signal in case we really need to stop and like just warm for a few minutes and do another recording. So we said we'll just do like cue each other. So while we were playing, after a few songs, my hands got so cold that I really considered doing that, and then I just looked at the band like, they're not going to stop. I'm not going to be the one stopping. So I kind of drew all the strength I could and the warmth from them. That's it. I hope we answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I'll jump in and just say, like, I mean, it was, despite the cold and the masks, I mean, this was the first time really that I played a whole set of music with people for quite a while. And this band has a really nice history of gigs, and so it's really close friends and nice musical connection. And so just to feel the flow from song to song, and I mean, of course, we missed the audience, but it was definitely emotional and nice to be back with you all and playing Noah's beautiful music.
I thought it was interesting that you asked about the pros and cons, because obviously there were a lot of challenges in that setting. But I was thinking what pros could be added to that. I think, like, when you don't have an audience, there's also maybe a pressure off situation where you just play in front of your friends, and and I find every situation that has challenges to it also an opportunity to play something new. So maybe even the cold or the masks, I find like we play differently than we would play in a full club, in front of people and in the comfortable situation. I find the same when I play. I've had situations where I had an overnight recording session, and your brain kind of makes you play differently when you're really, really tired, but in a relaxed way, in a different kind of like approach to the instrument. So I was just thinking of the con.
I was curious about that. Yeah, just like the benefits of that adversity.
Great question, Lenny. Alana, you have a question.
I have a lot of questions. I guess I'll start with my first one. Who are your favorite singer-songwriters?
Is this a question for me or for the whole band? For me. Okay. If anyone from the band has like an immediate kind of go-to answer, you can go ahead. I need to think about that one. Well, definitely one of my first loves is still Joni Mitchell, and some Israeli musicians that I grew up listening to, and I can send you names if you want. Who? Judith Ravitz. I can write her name in. Yeah, I think you're muted, right? Yehudit. Wait, Yehudit Ravitz. That's one. Great great singer and guitarist and composer. It's a good question. Should be kind of obvious, but it's not. Right. Vin is reminding me. Zev's aunt, I think they're related actually. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, they are. Okay. Kate Bush. Peter Gabriel. I grew up listening to the Police, David Bowie. More recent ones, I would say Norma Winston. Yeah, Kate Bush. That's right. She's the one. Yeah, I can think of more and let you know. Band. If you add in anyone. Oh well, I should say it would be interesting to describe her as a singer-songwriter, but I don't think she would ascribe any kind of title to herself. So I'll just mention one of my heroes, Meredith Monk.
Yeah. Awesome. Great question. I know Alana has some more. Mike, you had a question. Erwin.
Yeah, hi. I really enjoyed the concert. I was curious what your composition process is like, how you arrived at these compositions, what generally inspires you, and what makes you want to write, and when you do write, what your process is.
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for being here. That's a question that is hard to answer in one way, because I really feel that there's so many different ways that help me reach into like a similar destination. There are songs that kind of just arrive without any like analytic process to it. I might be sitting at the piano and just start playing a melody, and that would be it. Sometimes I just sing something, some of the more, I guess, the newer stuff that is more abstract, and you may notice some of that in the concert. A lot of it came from just singing a line and then finding out what that is about, and sometimes it comes with the harmony, sometimes it doesn't. The songs with the lyrics that are something that I do less these days. It's more like a characteristic of my first album. They're really like songs with the words. Those again, it's kind of different for each song. There's songs that come with the lyrics and the music, and then maybe with the harmony as well, and I sit at the piano and figure out what is it that I'm hearing, and sometimes it's just a melodic line that is attached to a certain sentence, and then I just find out what is the harmony that works with that. So it's not a very like consistent process, I would say. It's not like there's one way where it happens. Sometimes I also find that moving away from my usual instrument, for example, like just strumming the guitar, which is not an instrument that I play a lot and I don't know much about it, but because of that, I might find like a sound that I like, and it would move me away from. That's my cat. That's our cat. If you hear squeaking sounds, I think she wants to be part of this. Yeah. There she is. This is Sophie. So sometimes, sometimes playing on the guitar and finding, weird sounds that I wouldn't know how to call them if it was on the piano, for example, just like because of the sound. And when I'm at the piano, because that's my instrument, it's so much easier to like get to the shapes that I know and to the names of chords that I know, which is something that I'm working on, getting away from that and trying to look at it more as a canvas without having the shapes already there. But it's hard. So I think moving away from an instrument and trying a different instrument and like kind of a very fresh eye, that's been helpful in some of the compositions. And since our band is everyone is a band leader in our band and writes music, maybe other people wanted to talk about their process too. I would love to hear it.
I was just gonna say, if anyone knows great drummer and composer Jim Black, his first album with his band, Alas No Axis, he wrote all those songs on guitar, and he had never played guitar prior to that. And that's exactly the point he was making there. They're incredible songs with all sorts of unconventional shapes and sounds.
Okay, I guess I'll talk. Nobody's talking. Yeah, okay, so I come from the drums, and the drums are what they are. They're very rhythmical, the percussion, and well, my approach to writing music, the given would be that I come from a rhythmic background, so maybe I'm going to write a super rhythmical kind of composition. And a lot of times I try to actually go against that and just write something very simple rhythmically and challenge myself harmonically or melodically. And honestly, I also practice piano, and I try to, when I write on piano or my voice. I record voice memos like all of us, and I try to create music from that. But every time I write, I try to challenge myself in a way that it would be different than the last song I wrote, in both approach and how it sounds. And so sometimes I start with a bass line. Sometimes I would start with just an idea, or a melodic idea, or a rhythmic idea. And sometimes I have a band in mind. I have a specific instrumentation that I want to write for. I find composition fascinating and always challenging. That's why I need to always do more of that, and I enjoy it. So, anybody else?
I have kind of a similar approach to both Noah and Ron, and I think just starting from different points, or starting from, so if the last tune you wrote was you started with the bass line, then maybe this next tune I'm gonna start with a melody. I think it's really cool to start with lyrics, whether or not I sometimes will start with lyrics, whether or not the eventual song is going to actually be sung or actually have words, but it makes you write from a very different place. Like Ronan said, I think writing for a specific band is really, I find inspiration in that. If I know who I'm writing for, it comes to life more than just, all right, I'm going to write something for trombone. It's cool to know. I mean, actually, Ryan is in one of my projects, and knowing that I'm hearing his sound when I write it, it's really, really helpful.
We have a lot of questions. I'm kind of combining a couple. There's some similarities between a few of these. One is I think primarily for Noah, but maybe not. I think other people in the band could touch on this. But Alisa and Alana are both wondering about how your Jewish cultural heritage influences your music in terms of kind of specific musical influences, or maybe more broad, more general influences.
I think we're 3/4 Jewish in this band, so this question can definitely go to other people too. um, I can't say any direct way. Obviously, there's I'll say it's always going to be there because that's who I am, and that will always, who you grow to be as a human will be, or who you grew up, like the way you grew up culturally or your childhood. Everything goes into whatever you write eventually. I think, um, at least in my case, I feel I cannot say that there's any. Clear influence. The music that I've listened to was always and very diverse. It wasn't specifically Jewish music, a lot of Israeli music, but also, as I mentioned, like those singers that I listened to were not necessarily related to Israel or being Jewish. So, yeah, I can't really tell what are the specific ways that it might affect me. It's also situations of playing. I mean, I know Renan does a lot more of that, so plays in synagogues, so plays a lot more Jewish music, and maybe you can talk about that a little if you want. In my case, that's less a thing that I've done. I've done it a little bit, so I think it all eventually influences the way you sound and the way you write, but I don't feel it very present. Yeah, I'm stumped. I need to think about that more.
Okay, I can talk. So yeah, I'm also Israeli and Jewish and all that. And just like Noah, I've had many different influences. But absolutely, at least where I come from, I know that many influences of my playing are connected to where I come from, both as an Israeli and, I grew up in Jerusalem, and the sounds and the smells and all of that is absorbed eventually and comes out in my playing. So definitely everything that was listed before, and on top of that, Middle Eastern music and Mediterranean music and Israeli music and Jewish music. I would say that the actual Jewish tradition of synagogue playing and all that was not something I was exposed to until I actually moved to the US. Funny enough, I was exposed to it much more here, and I play with a lot of cantors and a lot of Jewish music, more from, I would say, the Reform lighter side of things. So yeah, I actually started playing all the Middle Eastern percussion here. I did not know how to play it back home. So yeah, that added a lot of colors and sounds to what I do. And yeah, that's the influences, I would say, on me.
Here's another question for the band. Cameron and Adam and Ethan are all commented on the unique sound that you guys get, especially considering the traditional instrumentation that the band represents. So they're wondering what the process is like when it comes to creating the arrangements and orchestrations for each song. Is it something that Noah lays out in advance, or is it something that's more organic and that the band develops in rehearsal and on stage?
I want to add something to the last question, and then I'll answer this one. That's a great question. But I was just thinking of one like little anecdote that as I was growing up, it was very important for my dad that we go to synagogue and like holidays and stuff. And for me as a kid, it was always like, oh, I resented that. I didn't really want to do it. It felt like a burden. But as I grew up, and especially since I moved here, sometimes these like some of those melodies that were sung, especially in Yom Kippur in our synagogue, kind of come out and hit me as in like, oh, that thing that was there, and I actually love it, and now I miss hearing it. So I just wanted to mention that. And as for I'm sorry, I didn't get the name. Who asked that question?
A number of people have asked kind of a related. Cameron and Adam Shore and also Ethan all kind of had similar questions along those lines.
Yeah. So I think the more we play, the more it became sort of a group thing. The charts are less and less confining. I feel like in the early days of this music, especially the earlier project, things were more clear on the paper and like very expected, and I had a very specific ideas. And then the more we played as a band and people brought themselves to the music, had their own ideas, and we kind of developed that thing together, so it became a very organic process. So I do feel that I bring like sort of a skeleton, and then the group adds their own, like, you know, their branches, their leaves, their beautiful sounds to that, so it become really a group, that unique group sound.
I think I feel really fortunate to play in some projects, and this is one of them where I feel like I really like Noah's such a kindred musical spirit that the music that she writes like resonates so easily with me that I feel like it's really easy to, I mean, she leaves also a lot of room for us to be creative but to serve the music. And so it's really this band, it's very, I don't want to say easy because some of the music's really challenging, but it feels very intuitive. That I do think we have a lot of similar influences. This band, like I think we have a lot of music that we love that we share. So I think that helps us kind of speak the same musical language. So I feel like when Noah brings in a new piece of music, it's almost always like, oh, I know where my part's gonna fit, and usually I think 90% of the time that works, and 10% you're like, try something else maybe. But usually it's very easy to, I think we all just speak the same musical language.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. I think that Noah does a really good job of always leaving space for the band and being really generous with her melodies. And I don't mean like in what she's playing. I mean like she'll bring in a song and there's always it's a strong idea and a strong song, but in distinction to a lot of composers now in the kind of the jazz scene who are like really virtuosic composers and have a real command of the craft and bring in a really structured, completely finished piece and you like play it exactly right, and then you get to the improvisation section and you open up. Noah's songs always have like a lot of room in all of their parts for you to interject something, you know, like to put your own part in or your own interpretation, which I think is a really beautiful part of playing together in like a jazz related ensemble, you know, like anything that's kind of coming out of that tradition, you know, like us as instrumentalists, you know, we're prepared to bring something to any song. So it's really nice as a band leader to allow musicians to put themselves into it. And I think from what your comments are, you're hearing the fruits of that allowing that space brings this like beautiful color into it that maybe she couldn't have come up with if she had like put every note into Sibelius like I usually do, you know?
I guess I'll add to that yeah, so I think what you heard, the reason it is what it is, has a lot to do with Noah and the way she gives us the space to create and trust us, that's a big one because you know, we're playing in many different situations and sometimes leaders really want to take control of where the music goes, and Noah just lets us bring the most organic sound to her music, which I feel like the music, you know, when I hear a piece of music for the first time, I feel like the music is asking me for for something. It's asking me for what would be the best part for this. And usually the first inclination I have, a lot of times that's the one that fits the best. Not necessarily, not always, of course, and sometimes Noah or any other leader would be like, oh, well, I heard it a little bit different. But I feel like because she gives us the space to bring what we feel is right for the music, the sound that you heard is basically all of us creating together.
I might add on that because people often ask, I'm sure you guys get the same question, what is jazz? And it dawned on me a few years back that jazz in 2020 is music played by jazz musicians. That is jazz. And what you're all speaking to reflects that, because what jazz musicians are trying to do is bring music to life in their own way and in the way they hear it. And the great composers of the past all knew how to take advantage of those skills. And unfortunately, sometimes I think younger composers lose sight of that. It's a hard thing to teach. It's a hard thing to kind of celebrate, because it's not something that is glamorous for the composer. In fact, it's the things they don't write that wind up allowing for that kind of creation. So it's an interesting, I think this, you guys, Noah as a composer and the band, you guys kind of personify that beautifully. So we're just about out of time. It's about that time. I think we should wrap up. We got to most of the questions, so that's phenomenal. Thank everybody for your questions. Are there any final thoughts from Noah or the rest of the band that you'd like to share before we wrap things up here?
I wanted to first of all ask if it's possible for you to save the chat somehow, because I would love to read the comments that I didn't get a chance to. And
Yeah.
if anyone would, would like to write me personally, if you didn't get your answers that you were looking for, you didn't get a chance, you're very welcome to write me an email. I can write it in the chat.
Yeah,
and I want to just add like one last thing about that last thing we talked about. I think, as Ronan said, trust is a huge thing that allows us to do it. And I just kind of selfishly, I feel like that's why I'm leading this music this way, because I don't want to be alone on stage. I don't have you guys for me to sound good. It's for this music and for us to be together. That's the thing I enjoy most, from actually communicating with you, and through that communicating with the audience. So I just don't want to be alone. If that makes sense. And here's my email in case anyone would like to send a question. And I would love to read your comments. I'm sorry we didn't get to everyone's questions, but this was wonderful. Ryan, thank you so much for having us.
It's our pleasure to have you all. Thank you for going to great lengths to make it happen, to perform and record the performance. I know it wasn't easy. It was extremely cold, and among other hurdles, as you said. So we're very appreciative for having you here. Thanks to the musicians for joining us as well. Definitely added a lot to the conversation. Yeah, it's our pleasure. So let's one more time, everybody unmute yourself and let Noa Fort and her quartet hear how much we've enjoyed this.
Yay, thank you so much. Bravo. Beautiful.
All right, well, that just about wraps it up. This was the first, hopefully, in a continuing series of New Topologies Virtual Edition, presented by Hunter College Music Department. So there will be more in store. For the students in the room, don't forget on Wednesday we do have one more event planned at 1 p.m. The great saxophonist Ron Blake will be giving a master class with us. Again, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. I'll send out the Zoom link for that shortly. But otherwise, Noa Fort, Josh Deutsch on trumpet, Ronan Itzik on drums, Dan Loomis on bass, again, Noa Fort on compositions and voice and piano and band leading. Thanks again. Have a great night. Happy holidays, everybody.